Well, hello. I am Matt Williamson, and your Steelers are 3-1. It's not the end of the world. It's not great. There was some rough patches in this game. There's no question, particularly the start. Boy, did the Colts have so much more energy, execution, physicality, speed to start this game. I mean, the Steelers got boat raced early on. And the defense, to me, was unrecognizable. I really thought the Colts are playing at a different speed than the Steelers. People will blame Tomlin. Okay, his team wasn't prepared to play. I think that's harsh. I mean, anytime that a team gets out to an early lead on the other, is the opposing coach a bum? I don't usually see it that way. But I'm not really focusing on Tomlin on this game. There were goods and bads on his side. However, and I'm not just trying to be an optimist, but this turned out to be a really good game, especially considering the way, how poorly the Steelers started. I mean, down 17-0 before you know it. And for me, and I bet that even more and more as the week goes on, again, I'm recording this right after the game, or right between the second-tier games and the night game, as I always do on Sundays. But there was a lot of good to take out of it. And a lot of the bad was correctable stuff that usually doesn't plague this team. But just too much bad, and Flacco on third downs was unbelievable too. I mean, I've not yet heard Coach Tomlin's press conference. I'm sure he'll stress money downs, all those things. And he's right. All right. We're going to do stat rundown because really, outside of that early 17-0 rampage, the Steelers were clearly the better team, especially statistically, especially if you take out the mistakes, which is not how this world works. But halftime stats, they're losing 17-3. At this point, Flacco's 9 for 14 for 84 yards and a touchdown. Richardson's day is done. He was 3 for 4 for 71 and 3 carries for 24 yards. I mentioned how awesome Flacco was on third down. More on that later. And you got to wonder, what if Richardson doesn't get hurt? Because he doesn't complete passes well. But in a short stint for 3 rushing attempts, 4 passing attempts, I thought Richardson looked quite good. We'll see. I mean, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. That the Colts got lucky that Flacco or that Richardson got hurt. I don't see it that way, but Flacco's obviously a professional quarterback that threw for a lot of yards last year, and on third downs he was deadly. And it's not what they prepared for, nor is it what the Colts coaching staff prepared for. Anyway, halftime. Fields is 10 for 13 for 120, 3 carries for 14 yards. Patterson at this point has 6 for 43. Najee, I mean, at the half, he had 6 carries for 5 yards, where Taylor had 13 for 50 and a touchdown. Pittman's already becoming dominant after being in a slumber for quite some time. 5 for 101. Downs, 5 for 34. Muth, 3 for 44. Pickens, 3 for 20, and a really bad fumble. Really bad fumble. He holds that ball away from his body way too much. Udendingbo, their former high pick, he had 2 sacks at this point. First downs at the half favored Indianapolis 15-9. Steelers were only 1 for 5 on third down, where the Colts were 4 of 7. Total plays was pretty even, 35-31 in favor of the Colts, but the yardage wasn't, 240 to 180. Yards per play, the Colts were up at 1.9 compared to 5.8. Rushing, 85 for the Colts, 67 for the Steelers. 3 penalties for 28 for Pittsburgh and 2 for 20 for the Colts. Steelers have 1 turnover at that point, plus a missed fourth down, though. You know how I treat them as, turnovers. I thought Porter should have had an interception. There were a couple near plays that the Steelers could have taken the ball away. Elliott caused that great fumble A really nice play on a big Richardson run that I thought the Steelers easily recovered and then didn't somehow. Time of possession was basically equal. In the end, the stats read like this: 6 of 26 for 168, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions for Flacco. It felt like much more. It felt like much more than a 168-yard day through the air. Where Fields, you're probably aware, 22 for 34, 312, 1 touchdown, 10 for 55 on the ground, 2 touchdowns there. Pretty nice work. He had his moments, too, that weren't great, don't get me wrong. Taylor ends up 21 for 88 and a touchdown. Does very little in the second half. Najee still, 13 carries for 19 yards. The Steelers just aren't running the ball well. But Harris had 3 for 54 receiving. Pickens ended up with a big day, 7 for 113. Muth, 5 for 57 and a touchdown. He's been pretty consistent this year with similar stat lines. Pittman ended up with 6 for 113. Downs, 8 for 82. The first downs were basically equal, 23 to 22. Third downs, the Steelers were 6 of 13, which isn't horrible. But the Colts were 8 of 15, which was backbreaking. But in the fourth downs, the Steelers were 0 for 2, which, as you know, I count as turnovers. Total plays, though, Steelers ran 68 to 64 for the Colts. 404 yards for the Steelers, compared to 358. 404 yards, if you've been listening or paying attention to this team, doesn't come very often. That is very un-Matt Canada-like. Like when I say there's good things to build on, 404 yards of offense is uncommon around these parts. Rushing, 122 to 133 for the Colts. Red zone, 3 for 4, 3 for 5 for the Colts. Penalties, 6 for 53, 4 for 38 for the Colts. Turnovers when it was all missed, two missed fourth downs, 2 turnovers, that's 4. But the Colts didn't turn the ball over, but Gay did miss a 54-yard field goal. So you're basically -3 in the turnover department. Too much to overcome. Too much to overcome when Flacco's slicing you up on third downs and you started with a big hole. But Steelers won time of possession, 31:07 to 28:53. So those numbers tell a lot of good stories. And so does the tape. And I'm excited to watch the second version. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From NFL to college, BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while those games are being played. When the game's over, head over to the online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with over 150 different slot games. Head to the website today and use promo code BELIEVE, all caps, BLEAV, and get in on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here. As I often do, I just have a lot of random scattered notes. Tomorrow's a lot more structured podcast, lumping things together. These are just throwing things at the wall because I want to get them to you as soon as possible. I think the Steelers really need another receiver. Van Jefferson isn't cutting it. Austin flashes. Roman Wilson intrigues me. It might be time to make that move. But I think you got to consider some trades here and see who's available. It's pretty obvious that they are lacking another receiver. Big stretch there where this Colts run game, which was really impressive. And by the way, their O-line played well and is really good. It's better than I thought, even without backup center. But there was a long stretch there that the Colts run game was non-existent. I have a note here. How does this game go with Richardson rather than Flacco? We kind of touched on that. Who knows? But it'd be much different. Better or worse. 2 guys I've liked a lot that have really been hampered by injuries or the quarterback throwing to them is Pittman and Downs. And they both were really good players in this one. Pittman caught 5 of 7 targets past the sticks for 111 yards. Just on ones, past the first down. He had more receiving yards in the first half of week 4 versus Steelers than he had in his first 3 weeks combined. Downs tied his career high with 8 catches in week 4, 82 receiving yards and a touchdown, and created 6 first downs for the Colts. Often matched them up against linebackers, which was problematic, but those two did a lot of damage. And Flacco got it to him on time, coming out of their breaks, very accurate throws. The Steelers' defense was horrific early and really poor on money downs here. But sometimes you got to tip your hat to Flacco and the opponent. And those three, Pittman, Downs, and Flacco, were the top of their games. You got nothing from Watt in this game, but they also schemed around him massively. That botched shotgun snap. Fields didn't expect it. But how many times, going back to the preseason, has he had snap issues, or has he and Frazier had snap issues? That needs cleaned up, man. And that was absolutely crucial, as you know. This, I think, is maybe the best thing we could take out of this game. And maybe some field stuff, too. But the offense truly showed an ability to come back. Very unlike other years. They got really back into this game, and for much of the latter portions of the game, I thought were clearly the better team. Since Ben was in his prime, the Steelers have not had an offense that could make a 17-0 game even watchable, let alone one that you're -3 in my turnover metric. So this offense shows an ability to come back, and I've heard people being really critical of Arthur Smith. I'm like, man, he created over 400 yards of offense. He didn't make Pickens fumble. He didn't make the snap get botched. He helped bring this team back. Fields is the third quarterback in Steelers franchise history to have 300-plus passing yards and 50-plus rushing yards in a single game. He's also, I think, one of 10 ever to do those things with a passing touchdown and 2 rushing. And he really took over at one point. Not game manager at all. I thought that was extremely enticing, exciting too. That there was a stretch where Fields took this game over. But he did lose 20 yards on that insane sack, fumble, turnover. That was just a hideous play. And that play in itself is hard to overcome for a win. Najee. What are we doing with Najee? Is he 100% healthy? I tend to think not. There was nowhere for him to run. A lot of crowded boxes, not great blocking. But, his production was really poor. Another slow start by the offense, though. That is something that's been stressed with these press conferences. And it got a lot better. But another slow start is certainly worrisome. Some Flacco stuff. Again, him on third downs was really impressive. But you're allowed to stop those too. The defense wasn't exactly great when it mattered most, that's for sure. He was 12 of 12 of short passes, 10 yards or less, for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just real precise, get it out, timing, all that good stuff. Talked about Watt. Really didn't show up today. Not that he was bad. It just there was no production. He generated 1 pressure across 21 matchups against their right tackle, Braden Smith. He generated 1 other pressure across 8 matchups combined with all other Colts pass blockers. Watt generated pressure on just 6.9 of his total pass rushes, his lowest pressure rate in a game since Week 11 of 2023 against the Browns. I'm sure he'll be the first to tell you he didn't have a typical TJ Watt game or a good game. But boy, it looked like there was 3 tight ends on that side of the line of scrimmage every snap too, especially in crucial situations. But that's not new for him. That's his life. That's the life of being TJ Watt. Porter had some rough moments early as well. He was getting picked on. They did not shy away from him whatsoever. Probably should have had an interception in the end zone. Couldn't redeem his not-so-great day with that. Pickens as well did some great stuff and hurt the team as well. These guys are still young and they're still volatile, but they have to be stars. I thought it was nice to see Darnell Washington involved again. He's moving around better. He's a good player. Let's get him 3 targets a game. James Daniels is hurt and was quickly ruled out. More O-line injuries. I mean, this was not a good O-line day at all, run blocking or pass blocking. But boy, it'd be nice to have some continuity there, some semblance of health this early on September 29th, to not have multiple injuries every week and now new ones. That could derail the season quickly. Patterson was also hurt, Cordarrelle, but was awesome. I mean, I know he's Arthur Smith's little toy and he's gimmicky. He's huge and he's nasty. I loved seeing him just rumble. He looks like a Clydesdale out there. Just high knees, bullying people. And then when he left, and there were 38 snaps in the second half, Najee had to play 35 of them, which is asking a lot for him. I mean, he's had a lot of workload this year. I think he's battling things. Shampklin played 3. You know, good thing he was active, or yikes, but it wasn't like he was an impact player either. But Harris has not done much of anything. I mean, his receiving was nice. I'm not saying replace him with Patterson, but would have been nice to have Warren in this game as well. But that's how the league works. They don't care that you have some injuries. And the O-line scares me that way. So, Steelers are 3-1. Sky isn't falling. There were some very bad things. The turnovers, some big plays, some self-inflicted wounds, some really poor third down action. But there was also a lot of encouraging things. And I have a feeling I'm going to pull out a lot more of that throughout the week. All right, take care.